At the start of our interviews, we decided on a set of questions we would all use for each of our leadership conversations. Between the four of us in our group, we facilitated a total of 12 interviews and gained new understandings on leadership. What a great experience being able to interact with these amazing individuals. We're so grateful for the time and interest that they allowed us. One thing we learned about leadership through our interviews is the varied styles and personalities that make up an effective leader. There is no one-size-fits-all type of leader. We had the privilege of interviewing younger and older leaders, male and female, newer and more seasoned, and leaders from different ethnic backgrounds. All brought their own style and flavor to leadership and had some important and insightful things to share about the topic. It reminded us as a group that who we are is the biggest asset we bring to leadership. And while we can grow to become more effective leaders, it starts with our own personal style, our identity, and makeup. Another observation we had was the higher levels of leaders we interviewed displayed different traits. One interview was with the CEO of an organization with over 500 employees. Another interview was with a senior vice president of a large healthcare organization. In general, these leaders displayed a broader and deeper understanding of leadership, displayed a higher level of emotional intelligence, and could articulate a more sophisticated philosophy of leadership. All the leaders we spoke with were skilled, but we could sense larger leadership capacity with those who had more experience and had risen in the ranks to larger leadership roles. The last item I'm going to share about what we learned from our interviews was some practical tips and resources that were offered to us to help us in our leadership. One of our interviewees talked about the leadership author Patrick Lencioni's concept of hungry, humble, and smart. These are three qualities of the most effective team players and help a leader put the right people in the right seats. Another suggested resource was the EOS business model, entrepreneurial operating system, that one leader had implemented in their company and found it transformational in working with their executive team. Our team was grateful for the leadership tools some of our interviewees offered us.
Hi, my name is Stephen Barnhart, and today I'll be talking about the 3 interviews I did this semester. They were with the CEO, COO, and plant manager of one of our divisions. Throughout the interviews, we talked about many topics from morale to leadership, but one thing that kept on coming up between the 3 was mentoring and coaching, and what it kind of took to mentor or coach people as well. 2 out of the 3 people actually had, coached some of their kids' little league and stuff. So kind of involvement of people growing kind of seemed like it was kind of deeply rooted in the people. They mentioned that, by mentoring, this will not only help you grow your network inside the company, but it will also help you have new contacts outside of the company as well. And as far as inside the company, you will have an advocate on your side to kind of help you, guide you through some of the steps on, maybe job promotions, meeting some of the people and making sure you don't have any kind of missteps as well. One of the, side effects, if you will, or one of the things that they had talked about was the fulfillment of watching or helping people grow as they've been kind of teaching them along the way. That seemed to be one of the main reasons, is just joy in helping other people as well. They also had mentioned that, everybody has something to teach and learn. And as far as the learning part, it kind of comes down to listening to people. If you're on the floor with people in the manufacturing, really listen to them and see what they have. Try to learn from them, because they probably know more about the processes going on the floor than you do. In the same way with the people that's in the office as well. Learn from them as well. And the last thing they mentioned is, everybody need to be mentoring and have a mentor. And it just doesn't mean that from your company. You can join something like Big Brothers or Big Sisters, just as long as you're out there, I guess, learning and teaching people is what it comes down to. Besides mentoring and coaching, all three of the interviewees had talked about goals. They had talked about group or company goals and also individual goals. As far as company goals, they really believed in them because you can get the whole organization moved in the same direction. Everybody's looking at the same information and have a common goal and moving in the same direction. They didn't really like stretch goals very much. They did like them to be more realistic. That way you could measure against them and then see where you needed to adjust it. And that was the biggest theme as well, is making sure that you pick a goal where you can actually have good data, where you can kind of compare yourself to it. That way you can actually do a course correction if you need to, if you're not performing well. But the main thing is making sure you pick the right ones that have measurable data on it. And then make sure you're incentivizing the right items. The CEO did mention that in his previous job, they had incentivized the sales force to sell. And he said, yeah, revenue was nice and high, but they were bringing in some extremely low margin stuff. So in the end, it wasn't doing any good. They then did a better structured incentive deal where if you had a higher margin on that work that you sold, you actually got a bigger bonus. And he said that made a world of difference. Now they were getting in revenue, maybe not as high as it was before, but now it was a good margins and a good bottom line. As far as the individuals, they had mentioned, it can be a work or personal goals, anywhere from, setting a goal of, getting a degree in something, or, just trying to be at a certain level within the company at a certain time. The main thing here is, like they had said before, you need to just make sure whatever you're picking, make sure you have something you can measure yourself with periodically. That way you can know if you're on track or you're not.
Hi, I'm Journey, and I am going to go over my kind of key takeaways from the interview assignments that we were assigned. The two things that really stuck out to me were leadership challenges and the strategies to improve and boost morale. Um, the leadership challenges were interesting to me because although I knew they would all three be different and I would know kind of what they were all going to say, um, it really made me think, oh, wow, in these different positions, like it's really the challenges are completely different, which seems obvious, but like I really got to think about the details of it and why the challenges are different. So interview one, she's a COO. She talks about how she really struggles with changing people's mindsets, teaching old dog new tricks, and selling change. She comes from someone, there was a manager before her that was really toxic. It created this toxic culture, and so she's trying to backtrack that and change people's minds and sell change there. And she's still struggling even though she's been there 2 years. So she's really working hard on that, but that's her biggest challenge that she's had. Interview two, he wants to be a mentor. He really loves getting people to grow. So he really struggles with getting people to want to grow themselves, and being supportive, but like constantly moving forward. So he wants you to grow and he wants to be your cheerleader, and he wants you to take the initiative to do the things, but also he just really struggles with people wanting to sit and do their job and kind of go home and not really taking the initiative to do much more. And then being supportive but constantly moving forward, meaning that he wants to be supportive and like understand why you're coming from where you're coming from, but also needs you to understand that the business has to move forward. Interview three is a physician. He really talks about how he struggles with interpersonal intelligence. He talks about navigating different personalities and social competencies as his biggest challenge that he has, because he feels that he's just an awkward person. So he really is been taking the time to really try to learn how to be more like I guess emotional, grow his emotional intelligence. Some strategies that they use to improve I thought were really interesting because the COO, because she hires a lot of the lower level employees. She really hires for attitude and personality because she feels like she can, because of the jobs are kind of like very entry level that she hires for, she can teach that job. But she can't teach attitude and she can't teach personality. So that's probably one of her biggest strategies she said that she focuses on. In at least in her biggest aspect, she does have, other roles that other employees that are like on her leadership team that she uses, like she uses different strategies, but this is probably her main one. The business owner, he states that he uses a lot of one-on-ones because his employees pool is smaller. He's really able to do that and get down to the details of kind of what's going on with them and being able to work through that with his one-on-ones. The physician, he uses stakeholder meetings and giving employees agencies. I posted a clip of the video that I did with him because he talks about this task force that we implemented back in the day. We used to be forced to do overtime every year, and no one was ever listening to the people who were doing it. I was happy to be one of them on how to make this better. They would just require, upper management never did the job, would just require us to do overtime. He came in and he was like, something's not right. We should not be doing this. He created this task force. He listened to us, the employees who were actually doing the job itself. And it's better. And it's been 3 years and we've never had to do overtime. I mean, if we do, it's very minimal. So this really stuck out to me because I thought it was just him finally somebody being like, oh, listen to people doing it. But he actually came in with the strategy. Like he really sat down and thought about how to implement and make the task force or the problem that we had, and he solved it. So it was really cool, and for it all to come together. Thank you.
I interviewed 3 team leaders, all of whom lead service and sales teams, but have varying levels of tenure within their industry. And what I found interesting was morale, using morale as a tool to improve performance, the importance of the cadence of feedback and the quality of the feedback, having that feedback be open and honest, an emphasis on care and compassion, how to build strong habits, or how building strong habits keeps you accountable not only for yourself, but it establishes credibility with those you lead. I learned that self-care is very different for everyone. Some people like to switch off, and some people sort of like to just switch gears. But the 2 things that stood out to me the most were workplace culture and employee development. So we'll talk more about that on the next slide. The 3 leaders that I interviewed focused a lot on culture, starting off with aligning enterprise culture with team culture, and making sure you present that in a positive but still honest light, and to get people to speak candidly as early as possible, so their apprehensions about the culture or whether or not they fit into the culture, those sorts of concerns don't continue to fester. We talked about regular feedback on the last slide, but they also took the opportunity of regular feedback to reiterate the culture. They wanted to also create open communications, sometimes that's between the leader and the team member, or sometimes it's between team members themselves by creating something like a group chat. They build a climate of care, and especially supporting team members during difficult times, and then finally organizing things off of work, such as volunteer events, was very important for building culture. More than employee performance, employee development was something that they focused on. So many of them, or all of them actually, talked about how it was most important to them not to get people to succeed on their team, but to succeed on their career beyond their team. So they always focused on their next step within the company. So I think we can say that we all learned a lot from this project and from the conversations we've had. some of the things we learned were that there's opportunity to learn from everyone, no matter what level of tenure or position of leadership they have. We understand the importance of emotional intelligence in leadership, how participating in mentorship capacities outside of your career can prepare you for leadership within your company. We learned how leaders must align their team with the values of their company, both in goals and in culture. We learned that leaders need to overcome or solve a diverse set of challenges. We learned that sometimes you should maybe hire for what you can't teach. You should collaborate with stakeholders as well, because they are very valuable to you. And we learned that culture is important to a healthy work environment. And ultimately, one of the big things we learned was how fulfilling leadership can be, especially when you have the opportunity to watch others grow.